first national hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, born on August 17. The Governor General is greeted by Ministers Grange and Terrelong, and of course, Head of State Protocol, Minister Grange, escorts the Governor General to the shrine of our first national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, born on August 17, 1887, to Sarah Jane Richards and Marcus Mosiah Garvey Sr. in St. Anne. Grew up in poverty and left school and started working at the age of 14 as an apprentice to a local printer. So we see the Governor General placing that floral tribute next to the bust of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He steps back, bows in respect. The soldier salutes, that's his ADC. Marcus Mosiah Garvey started the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, in Jamaica at the age of 26. Make sure you visit Liberty Hall. Liberty Hall is quite a place to visit and see different aspects of the man's life and work. That is Garvey. Garvey took the UNIA worldwide in order to encourage self-government for all black people, to oppose racial discrimination and promote racial pride. Right Excellent Marcus Garvey. He visited America in 1916 and inspired hope to blacks who faced horrors such as lynching by the Ku Klux Klan. Garvey built large UNIA businesses and employed over 1,000 black people. Now, Marcus Garvey believed that black people should return to their homeland, and he founded the Black Star Line Shipping Company in an effort to facilitate the return of blacks to Africa. He was never to see that. Garvey died in London on the 10th of June 1940 at the age of 52, still a very young man, but he's accomplished so much, and is viewed with such reverence and respect the world over. His body was returned to Jamaica in 1964 to be buried right here at the National Heroes Park. Marcus Garvey was named Jamaica's first national hero on November 15, 1964. And one of the most famous Garvey quotes, which we've all heard at least once in our lifetime, is simply, "Up, you mighty race, accomplish what you will." And perhaps my favorite is this one, another Garvey quote, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." Just remember, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. And I'm surrounded by some really majestic looking trees here. And if there were no roots, there would have been no trees. It would all be to naught, dead. So we need to perhaps re-embrace our history and our understanding of that history. I love history.
Welcome to Black History Month. Now, for the first time ever, we're going to gain a special insight into the philosophy and opinions of one of the greatest men to have ever walked this earth. We're going to be celebrating a remarkable life and legacy over the next 31 days as I bring you the resurrection of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, a series which will be presented by myself, Jermaine Brown, featuring 31 brothers from our community, all chosen to resurrect speeches from Marcus Garvey daily. So now, before we get into today's speech, I must give you some handy information, food for thought. Marcus Garvey was the founder and organizer of the largest independent black movement in the world, the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the African Communities League. And at the heights of success, the organization had a worldwide membership of over 11 million subscribed members. Now, this was an excellent feat, especially when we consider that this happened during a time of no internet, no smartphones, and no social media. And to top it all off, here's the icing on the cake. It was in the midst of 2 world wars. Now, I can't even get a following like that on Instagram and Snapchat, you know, and that's supposed to be easy. Easy, yeah? But he dared to travel the world, even to non-English speaking regions, spreading his message of unity, self-love and empowerment. This was during a time when it was particularly dangerous for black men and women to even wander outside of their own homes. But these factors did not stop the man and his movement, for he had at his disposal an unmatched confidence. He didn't fear failure. He didn't care about the laughter and the ridicule hurled at him, for he had a fearless passion for the advancement of black people worldwide that fueled his mission. Now, I'm intrigued to know more about the mind of this man and how he accomplished so much. What can I take from him that I can apply to my life today? This is program 18 of our series, with just 13 days to go before the series concludes. Today we find Marcus Garvey sharing his thoughts on his vision of the ideal state. It is an essay written while Marcus Garvey was in the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary in 1925. It is titled Governing the Ideal State. Today's narration is by Kente Mawilima, aka Brother Kente from Birmingham, UK.
Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Marcus Garvey, Mosiah Garvey, the great one. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, beloved one. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Marcus Garvey, Mosiah Garvey, the great one. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, beloved one. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
You are listening to an Honor Level production featuring the Resurrection of Marcus Mosiah Garvey series.
Our modern systems of government have partly failed and are wholly failing. We have tried various forms, but none has measured up to the ideal state. Communism was the last attempt, and its most ardent advocates have acknowledged its limitations, shortcomings, and impossibility. The reason for all this failure is not far to seek. The sum total of governmental collapse is traceable to the growing spirit of selfishness, graft, and greed within the individual. Naturally, the state cannot govern itself. It finds expression and executes its edicts through individuals, hence the state is human. Its emanation is but the reflex of our human characters. As a Nero, Caesar, Alexander, Alfred, William, Louis, Charles, Cromwell, Napoleon, Washington, Lincoln, Roosevelt, or Wilson thinks, so expresses the majesty of the state. If we must correct the maladministration of the state and apply the corporate majesty of the people to their own good, then we must reach the source and there reorganize or reform. Under the pressure of our civilization, with its manifold demands, the individual is tempted beyond measure to do evil or harm to others, and if responsible, to the entire state and people. And if by thus acting he himself profits, and those around him, there arises corruption in government, as well as in other branches of the secular and civil life. All other methods of government having been tried and failed, I suggest a reformation that will place a greater responsibility upon the shoulders of the elect and force them either to be the criminals that some of us believe they are, or the good and true representatives we desire them to be. Government should be absolute, and the head should be thoroughly responsible for himself and the acts of his subordinates. When we elect a president of a nation, he should be endowed with absolute authority to appoint all his lieutenants, from cabinet ministers, governors of states and territories, administrators, and judges to minor officers. He should swear his life as a guarantee to the state and people, and he should be made to pay the price of such a life if he deceives, grabs, boasts a special privilege or interest, or in any way undermines the sacred honor and trust imposed upon him by acts of favoritism, injustice, or friendly or self-interest. He should be the soul of honor, and when he is legally or properly found to the contrary, he should be publicly disgraced and put to death as an outcast and an unworthy representative of the righteous will of the people. A president should, by proper provisions made by the state, be removed from all pecuniary obligations and desires of a material nature. He should be voted a salary and other accommodations so large and sufficient as to make it reasonably impossible for him or those dependent upon him to desire more during his administration. He and his family should be permanently and substantially provided for after the close of his administration, and all this and possible more should be done for the purpose of removing him from the slightest possible material temptations or wants. He in turn should devote his entire time to the sovereign needs and desires of the people. He should, for all the period of his administration, remove himself from obligatory, direct, and fraternal contact with any and all special friends. His only friends outside of his immediate family should be the state. He should exact by law from all his responsible and administrative appointees a similar obligation, and he should enforce the law by penalty of death. His administrators and judges should be held to strict accountability, and on the committing of any act of injustice, unfairness, favoritism, or malfeasance should be taken before the public, disgraced, and then stoned to death. This system will tend to attract to the sacred function of government and judicial administration only men and women of the highest and best characters, whom the public would learn to honor and respect with such satisfaction as to obliterate and prevent the factional party fights of socialism, communism, anarchism, etc. for the control of government, because of the belief that government is controlled in the interest of classes and not for the good of all the people. It would also discourage the self-seekers, grafters, demagogues, and charlatans from seeking public offices, as the penalty of discovery of crime would be public disgrace and death for them and their families. The state should hold the wife of a president and the wives of all administrative officials solely responsible for the domestic households, and they should be required by law to keep a strict and accurate public account of all receipts and disbursements of their husbands during their administrative terms. And if any revenue comes into the household other than provided by law, should be promptly reported to the responsible officer of the state for immediate action, and should the wife conceal or refuse to make such a disclosure, and that it be discovered afterwards, and it was an act of crime against the dignity and high office of the incumbent, she and her husband should be publicly disgraced and put to death. But any child or member of the family who before discovery reports the act should be spared the disgrace and publicly honored by the populace for performing a duty to the state. The state should require that the husband and his consort, under the severest penalty for non-performance, report the full amount of his entire wealth to the state before taking office, and that all incomes and salaries legally authorized be reported promptly to the wife to enable her to keep a proper public account. Whenever a president or high official during his term has performed solemnly and truly all his duties to the people and state, and is about to retire, he should be publicly proclaimed and honored by the populace, and all during his life he and the family should occupy a special place of honor and respect among the people. They should be respected by all with whom they come in contact, and at death they should be granted public funerals and their names added to the niche in the Hall of Fame of the nation. Their names should be placed on the honor roll of the nation, and their deeds of righteousness should be handed down to the succeeding generations of the race, and their memories sung by the poets of the nation. For those who have abused their trust, images of them should be made and placed in a national hall of criminology and ill fame, and their crimes should be recited and a curse pronounced upon them and their generations. Government, left to the free and wanton will and caprice of the individual, in an age so corrupt as this, without any vital reprimand or punishment for malfeasance, other than ordinary imprisonment, will continue to produce dissatisfaction, cause counter agitations of a dangerous nature and upheavals destructive to the good of society and baneful to the higher hopes and desires of the human race. This plan I offer to the race as a means to which we may perfect the establishment of a new system of government conducive to the best interests of the people and a blessing to our disorganized society of the 20th century.
You have just listened to an Honor Level production.
We've just been listening to Governing the Ideal State, originally written in 1925 and resurrected 94 years on. This concludes day 18 of our 31-part series, and we'd like to thank Brother Kente for today's narration. Kente is a Pan-Africanist, a writer and community educator specializing in mathematics. Kente says, "I've been influenced by Marcus Garvey since my school days, and I consider him to be one of the most important figures in African history. I see Garvey as a key to our liberation and a standard by which we should all be judged." As you know, in this series, we are paying homage to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as Black History Month is all about celebration.
The national anthem represents the beauty, pride, strength, and resilience of Jamaica and our people. My name is Usain Bolt. Please stand as we pay honor to Jamaica, our culture, and our history.
Join me to give a few shout-outs, starting with Garvey's parents, Mama Sarah Jane Richards and Pops Marcus Garvey Sr. We also want to pay homage to those esteemed ancestors who paved the way for Marcus to appear on the world stage. We also pay homage to the graduates of the School of African Philosophy and all of the founding members and supporters of the UNIA. Last but not least, we pay special homage and tribute to his esteemed wife, Amy Jakes Garvey, who was a formidable leader in her own right. Mrs. Garvey kept her husband's legacy alive, and it is partly because of her loving efforts that we can share this groundbreaking series with you today. Tune in tomorrow at the same time for the resurrection of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. With me, Jermaine Brown. I'm going to leave you with the famous anthem that Marcus Garvey and the UNIA members had wanted to be adopted as the universal anthem for Black people across the globe. Let's take a moment to listen and feel free to wave your red, black and green flag should you have one.
Up your mighty race, you can accomplish what you will.
Ethiopia, thou land of our fathers, thou land where the gods love to be. A storm cloud at night suddenly gathers, all armies come rushing to thee. We must in the fight be victorious, when swords are thrust outward to gleam. For us will the victory be glorious, when led by the red, black and green. Advance, advance to victory, let Africa be free. Advance to meet the foe, advance to meet the foe, with the might of the red, the black and the green, with the might of the red, the black and the green. O Jehovah, thou God of the ages, grant unto our sons that need the wisdom thou gave to thy sages when just all we need. Thy voice through the dim past has spoken. Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hand. By thee shall all fetters be broken, and heaven bless our dear motherland. Advance, advance.